What's up guys, welcome back. This is Anime Crossover. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was the Emperor of Elements, in the Avatar Part 8. Now, let's begin. Naruto's POV. Eastern Islands of the Fire Nation. Today, I am set to travel to Shujing Island. I believe it is the appropriate moment for me to meet the renowned swordsman Piandao in person. Ultimately, my main responsibility is to educate the Fire Lord's children, which means I cannot be absent for an extended period. The island is conveniently located just a 5-hour sail from the capital. The more challenging aspect was persuading everyone that I was not departing permanently. Ursa, based on her subtle indications, appeared to believe that I had lost favor with Ozai. Azula, however, was determined to accompany me and even gathered the resolve to seek her father's approval. The effort proved to be unproductive. "We will have the opportunity to travel together in the future," I remarked, gently smoothing Azula's soft hair one final time. She nodded in acknowledgement. "Zuko, please ensure you do not neglect your firebending practice," I advised. "When have I ever?" he exclaimed, visibly offended by my skepticism. "Ursa, I look forward to your new plays," I remarked, addressing Azula and Zuko's mother, who appeared somewhat melancholic. "I no longer wish to participate in these scenes. For some reason, I consistently receive unworthy roles," she responded. "All individuals except you, Zuko, are aware of the reasons behind your casting in those roles. I will return shortly," I said as I waved farewell, beginning my measured walk toward the port. Last week, old Jien requested a private conversation with me. He inquired about my level of preparedness. "It appears that all relevant parties are already aware of your visit to Piandao. The Fire Sages likely received this information first. An ambush is certainly a possibility. Your presence has become a significant concern for them, and given our recent collaboration with Ozai, their motivation to eliminate you has undoubtedly increased," he stated with irritation. "What recommendations do you have?" I inquired. I had overlooked the fact that others perceive me solely as a formidable firebender, rather than an invincible one, particularly when faced with a team of highly skilled firebenders. Why take the risk of exposing myself and merging with my other selves when I can implement precautions? "Let me outline the strategy," he commenced. "You will embark on a vessel owned by a colleague of mine, a modest trading ship. They do not implement stringent security measures as their operations are confined to our territorial waters." He gestured with his hand and moved thoughtfully around the small concealed room. "At that moment, they will take the bait. Our personnel will be positioned within the cargo crates." He paused for a moment. "I will also attend. I have been eager to observe their unique flames for some time. I am willing to endure a cramped setting for a few hours to experience it." It seemed as though he had intended to embark on this journey with me from the beginning. Nevertheless, having additional firebenders is certainly advantageous. The port was vibrant with activity: military personnel, mariners, merchants, and various individuals whose livelihoods were intertwined with the ocean. "Lord Wan," a man from the Fire Nation, approached me. "I am Kareem, the captain of the ship," he said, bowing slightly. "The vessel is nearing completion of its loading process. You may proceed to board at this time." "I will," I affirmed with a nod. "Are you aware of what may be ahead of us?" "Yes." He removed some perspiration from his forehead. "At the first indication of approaching vessels, I will promptly retreat to my cabin and direct the crew to the lower deck. It is a prudent decision. Who would want to jeopardize their safety? There is no necessity to compromise the crew. This is likely his initial experience with an attack. To the best of my knowledge, he exclusively navigates the waters between the islands of the Fire Nation. All approaches are secured by a naval blockade, a continuously monitored line of vessels deterring incursions from the Earth Kingdom and Water Tribes. You need not be concerned. All will be well," I said, offering a reassuring pat on his shoulder. "I hope so," he said, exhaling deeply. "Attention, team. Please handle the cargo with care. We want to avoid any potential damage," he instructed his crew after one of the crates was accidentally dropped. He exhibited noticeable signs of anxiety, fully aware of the true contents concealed within those crates. I believed I detected subdued curses emanating from within the crate. It was evident that an individual was experiencing a challenging situation. "What is the reason for their excessive weight?" one sailor remarked. "How am I supposed to know?" "Please expedite your work," another responded with irritation. Positioned at the bow of the vessel, I utilized my senses to assess the number of our warriors. A total of 20. 2 are masters, while the remainder are of average quality. Acceptable. We are setting sail, Kareem announced 20 minutes later, following the completion of all checks and loading procedures. The intense gazes directed at me as I exited the palace were impossible to overlook. An event was certainly imminent. The trading vessel navigated purposefully toward the island. 3 hours into our journey, the vessel is on the correct trajectory. The lookout announced. This is our achievement, he assured the apprehensive team. All personnel, please proceed below deck. The captain's authoritative voice resonated through the air. What are you waiting for? Let's get moving, he instructed the bewildered crew. Could you please provide an update on the current situation? How am I supposed to know? Murmurs circulated. The crew promptly proceeded into the ship, making their way to the living quarters. In the cargo hold, there was noticeable activity as the firebenders gradually made their way out of the crates. After a period of time, our vessel came to a complete halt. At that point, the suspicious vessel had already come alongside ours. The ship was manned by precisely 12 firebenders, comprising 2 high-level and 10 mid-level practitioners. Acceptable. Junior Fire Sage Hiroko greets you. A middle-aged man in the official robes of the Fire Nation's spiritual authority welcomed me with warmth. Could you please provide the name of this gentleman? I am Juan, the tutor to the Fire Lord's children, I stated, though my true inclination was to express, this gentleman's name signifies your impending demise. How may I assist you? Regrettably, our vessel is experiencing a minor malfunction, and it appears we will not reach the capital as planned, he stated, shaking his head in disappointment. We would greatly appreciate your assistance, Lord Juan. Certainly, I responded with a composed demeanor, observing his crew's actions closely. I am reluctant to inquire, but could you please inform me of the whereabouts of your personnel? He inquired, his expression revealing a sense of skepticism, as indicated by his furrowed brows. In the following moment, a series of events unfolded. Hiroko and the closest firebenders on deck elevated their hands, unleashing a torrent of flames directed at me. The flames of the sage were a striking combination of black and blood red. Fortunately, the others were standard firebenders utilizing conventional fire. At the same time, a potent green flame surged forth from both my hands and mouth, consuming 10% of my reserve in a single moment. Time advanced swiftly. His team provided support, including an additional fire sage, ranked just below Hiroko in strength. All personnel associated with Old GN, including him, were prepared on my end. Surprise, ladies, Old GN remarked with a hint of disdain, clearly harboring resentment towards them. It's a trap, Hiroko stated with composure, abandoning the pretense. It was something we should have anticipated. Formation 4, Old GN commanded, and his team promptly organized themselves accordingly. Eliminate them, the sage commanded. The conflict commenced once again. In the initial moments, one individual collapsed on either side. Ha, I remarked, compelled to conjure an entire wall of green fire. The sages launched a swift offensive, employing area of effect techniques in an effort to swiftly neutralize the persistent threats. I needed to bridge the gap swiftly to ensure their attention was directed entirely towards me. The green flame demonstrated its formidable strength, effectively repelling the aggressive fire, which caused a sense of unease within me. This is for my sister, one of our team members shouted, lunging forward and unleashing intense streams of flame at Hiroko. No, please halt, Old GN called out after him. I expressed my frustration, hindered by the second sage. Please move aside, I directed a dark fire vortex toward him. Ah, the individual, whether a fool or a courageous soul, exclaimed as he was engulfed by the flames that consumed his body. In a matter of seconds, he was reduced to ashes, swiftly carried off by the sea breeze. This is certainly not a situation we want to find ourselves in, I reflected, and the expressions on the others' faces indicated that we were all in agreement. It is possible to achieve similar results with conventional fire, provided that the flame is sustained for a duration of 5 to 10 minutes. Maintain your positions, Old GN's voice pierced through the turmoil, swiftly restoring composure among those eager for retribution. My body was generating adrenaline, enabling my mind to capture every detail. At times, I found it necessary to assist my colleagues in navigating the challenges posed by my encounters with the sages, which resulted in widespread flames. Insufficient space. The entire engagement was restricted to 2 vessels, leaving no room for maneuverability. We possessed a numerical advantage, and as I engaged with the sages, we gradually established dominance, neutralizing one enemy firebender each minute. It was a continuous interplay, evading, protecting, and at times countering, among other actions. I successfully executed a counterattack on several occasions. The fire that erupted from my mouth struck the second sage's face, yet it failed to affect him in the slightest. He continued without hesitation, despite the severe burns on his face. A guttural roar emanated from Hiroko's throat. I observed that their boundless reserve had implications. As our confrontation progressed, their maneuvers grew increasingly aggressive and rudimentary. However, this was counterbalanced by the heightened intensity of their firepower. It appeared that their cognitive abilities were declining. "You will not interfere with our lord," he declared, executing another rapid strike. While positioned on the bridge, I evaded a sudden burst of flame. A double backflip prevented me from becoming ash. With precision, I countered one opponent with my strike and advanced towards the second, unleashing a swirling vortex of fire that he effortlessly absorbed into his chest. Therefore, they neglect to address their injuries, I concluded. To effectively eliminate them, one would typically need to decapitate them or extract their hearts. Throughout the engagement, the vessel sustained numerous scorch marks, and the flames from the sages resulted in minor melting of the metal. What creatures, I grimaced, observing the now mindless beings. Their eyes conveyed a lack of intellect, merely a desire for violence and an ultimate directive to eliminate me. Hiroko's saliva was flowing from his mouth. "Only the masters remain here," I declared as I witnessed the final enemy firebender fall in our coordinated assault. Old GN comprehended without the need for additional clarification. The environment was not conducive to the average fighters. They would face immediate peril without hesitation. Only 5 individuals remained on the deck of the enemy ship: myself, Old GN, an unidentified firebending master, and the 2 fire sages. We can now employ more advanced techniques without limitations. A sudden black flash emerged, briefly obscuring all daylight. At that very moment, we heard the sound of a body descending. The unidentified master transformed into a charred fragment of flesh. What should I communicate to his family? Old GN was the first to arrive at the scene. In response to my unvoiced inquiry, he shook his head. It was unexpected for them to employ lightning, given that they had exclusively utilized their unusual black blood fire up to that point. The situation was unforgiving, necessitating heightened vigilance on our part. I have reservations about the safe redirection of their lightning. Old GN's anger was evident, suggesting a deep familiarity with the fallen master. However, his training and experience prevented him from engaging in reckless behavior. Rather, his intense anger was completely focused on our adversaries. In an instant, lightning struck Hiroko, resulting in a brief spasm. Old GN promptly capitalized on the opportunity. With a swift movement, he approached the sage and unsheathed a small blade from beneath his kimono, executing a precise decapitation. With one sage eliminated, the threat level was considerably diminished, and within the following minute, we successfully caught the second one by surprise. Old GN sank onto the deck, visibly relieved. "I would greatly appreciate a robust beverage," he remarked softly. "I concur." I positioned myself against the ship's rail. For a brief moment, I contemplated reaching out to my alternate selves for assistance. "You may come out now," I called to the individual who was cautiously peering from a slightly ajar door. "Please ensure this is cleaned up." I found myself devoid of the strength to endure the odor of burnt flesh. Wide-eyed, the trader's crew started to appear, with some experiencing a loss of their stomach contents. Old GN remained intent on capturing a prisoner, to uncover all the secrets. Such aspirations seem unrealistic. Shujing Island, city of Shujing. The remainder of the voyage was characterized by a somber atmosphere. The individuals associated with Elder GN, whether friends or relatives, struggled to engage with the vacant expressions of their peers, who had recently exhibited such vitality. Those were merely the junior firebenders, Elder GN finally remarked, breaking the silence. "Certainly not a weak force," he remarked with a whistle. "I have a clear understanding of the situation. There exists a primary fire temple located on the uninhabited volcanic Crescent Island, which is primarily home to the Elder Firebenders along with a few junior firebenders. However, the number of smaller fire temples is nearly equivalent to the number of inhabited islands within the archipelago. Their responsibilities encompass a range of significant events, including coronations, weddings, memorial rites, and various other ceremonies. To put it differently, there is a significant number of them. Additionally, it is important to acknowledge their supporters within the aristocracy and senior military officials, who likewise maintain their own networks. Please proceed to brew some tea and return. We will await your arrival, he stated as soon as we docked. During our return journey, we will stop at an undisclosed island where, for several months, an unidentified individual has been abducting residents. I will make every effort to avoid any delays, I said as I waved goodbye, taking one last sniff of my clothes. I was fortunate to have a spare set on hand. It would have been quite inappropriate to attend a reception with an unpleasant odor. Gradually, my mood improved, attributed to the stunning views of this island. The city was situated in a mountain valley, adjacent to a turbulent river that coursed through a rugged gorge. The river featured a variety of rapids and waterfalls. The local environment bore a striking resemblance to the world depicted in James Cameron's Avatar. A small group of observers followed my movements as I walked, merely a few individuals. The environment here presents a notable difference from the dynamic and lively capital, where life appears to be at a standstill. However, this may be the exact serenity that the residents desire. In my later years, I envision myself residing in a place like this, I remarked with a knowing smile, fully aware that old age is not imminent. Piandao's estate was situated close to the city, elevated on a cliff, and bore a striking resemblance to a well-fortified fortress. The phrase "my home is my fortress" is interpreted quite literally, and I would likely respond similarly if I were in his situation. Ultimately, there remain senior figures who do not hold him in high regard. The entire harbor is visible from the cliff, which likely explains why my arrival at the estate gates was anticipated. "Good day to you, Master Wan," greeted Fat, the assistant to the swordmaster. "I trust your journey was seamless." "Hello," I responded. There were some minor challenges, but ultimately, everything was resolved satisfactorily, I noted. "Indeed, we did experience the loss of a few valued individuals. Please accompany me," he stated, his manner reminiscent of a butler. This country ought to have been named not the Fire Nation but rather the Nation of Spies. A thought crossed my mind as I became aware of unfamiliar eyes observing me. We subsequently entered the residence, or more accurately, a small fortress, where we explored the corridors for a time, allowing me to thoroughly appreciate the decor. The design was characterized by a minimalist approach that exuded tastefulness. "It is my pleasure to welcome you to my home, Master Wan." Piandao rose from his seat as we entered a room that resembled a dining hall. "It is my honor, Master Piandao," I bowed respectfully as one of equal standing. "I would like to express my gratitude for the expertly crafted dagger." I bowed once more. "These Eastern intricacies are quite fascinating." Princess Azula expressed her satisfaction with it. "Ah, so it was a present for our princess. You demonstrate remarkable attentiveness and care as a mentor. The children of the Fire Lord are indeed fortunate to have your guidance," which can also be interpreted as, "Aren't you exceeding your authority, unfamiliar character?" Once more, these exchanges carry multiple layers of meaning. You are not an exception, I reflected. Ultimately, you were raised in an orphanage, faced the challenging aspects of life, and have only recently adopted these refined characteristics. The conversation was brief, lasting no more than 5 minutes. We briefly discussed the political changes that occurred with Ozai's rise to power, as well as specific details regarding various types of bladed weapons. Subtly, we shifted into a more informal dialogue. Engaging in conversation with a captivating individual makes time seem to pass remarkably quickly. It was only afterward that we recognized we had engaged in conversation for a complete 3 hours, all while seamlessly enjoying the dishes presented before us. I inadvertently overlooked the main point, I stated, preparing for a serious discussion. "I am aware of your affiliation with the White Lotus Society." Piandao's hand swiftly moved beneath the table, while Fat began to position himself behind me. "Please, allow me the opportunity to clarify everything. I hold no objections towards you. In fact, I find myself quite satisfied," I commenced. "It is quite probable that you are already aware that the former firebenders no longer exist," I continued, acknowledging the swordmaster with a nod. "This represents a potential threat that could soon jeopardize the entire nation and possibly extend beyond the islands." Their serious expressions indicated that they had anticipated this outcome. "I suggest we collaborate. What brings you to inquire about our secret society?" Piandao inquired. "Are you familiar with the name Roku?" I inquired. As a close associate from the Earth Kingdom, I can confirm that he is likely currently at the Baifeng estate. However, it is improbable that they will readily accept the existence of a global threat posed by the spirit of darkness and chaos. It is essential for them to first understand that the spirit revered by the firebenders is complex, and only after this comprehension can we engage in discussions regarding broader issues. Unusual occurrences are unfolding in our world. Initially, a remarkable individual emerges in the Northern Water Tribe, followed by reports of the formidable earthbender Roku, and now a descendant of a notable lineage has made an appearance, he commenced, enumerating on his fingers. Perhaps you could provide us with some answers, wouldn't you agree? He gazed directly into my eyes. Indeed, it is a singular individual capable of dividing their forms, and I am one of those manifestations, I responded with a composed demeanor. Your imagination is quite remarkable. Piandao chuckled, patting his thigh. You convey the truth, yet they remain skeptical. Understood. I will participate, but please refrain from inviting me to your meetings. For any serious matters, kindly communicate through a letter. May I inquire about their location? He asked, tapping his finger on the table. Sir, Fat said as he approached him. Is this what you require? He presented a small booklet to him. What would I do without you? The master remarked with a smile. These are the ciphers you should utilize to conceal your letters, he stated while shaking the booklet. There is a lack of privacy, as all information is accessible to everyone, he expressed with frustration. Isn't that right, Fat? He said with a wink. Rumors are circulating in town regarding the sincere love letters that Fat composes for the local vegetable vendor. Piandao leaned in closer. You captivate my mind. My life, he started, but was promptly interrupted by Fat placing a hand on his friend's shoulder. Understood. I will cease. I was surprised by the warmth and friendliness of their relationship. It appears you committed to preparing something exceptional. Piandao promptly redirected the conversation. Understood. I will attend to that immediately. Fat quickly exited the room. I understand you resided in a colony. Likely, you have not had the opportunity to experience our ancient traditional dish, he remarked with a sense of anticipation. Fat put in considerable effort on this. I trust you will appreciate it. The gleam in his eyes certainly suggested otherwise. The dish was exceptionally delicious, though acquiring it proved to be quite a challenge, even requiring some physical effort. Fat promptly returned with a tray. Smoked sea slug. He placed a large slug on the table. Its appearance suggested, only the most adventurous would consider consuming meat. My willpower faced another challenge. I had to summon my inner strength to prevent any unpleasant incidents at the table. Unfortunately, we weren't able to procure a fresher slug. It's widely recognized that it is best enjoyed raw, he stated, almost as if issuing a challenge. Piandao observed my swiftly shifting facial expressions with a sense of amusement. It is now clear why this dish is regarded as one of the oldest traditional offerings. It likely originated during a time when food options were limited on the islands. Allow the guest to sample it first, Piandao said, unable to maintain his composure. This is merely another test, Juan. You will encounter fanatics, ancient spirits, and Vadu himself. However, this is simply a repulsive slug. In the worst-case scenario, I have my second chakra activated, which addresses illnesses and poisons. Fat regarded me with keen anticipation. With precision, I sliced a small portion of the slug and placed it in my mouth, prepared to swiftly cleanse the experience with water from the pitcher. Quite impressive, indeed. The texture was unappealing, particularly as the residue adhered to my teeth. However, the flavor was exceptional. I expressed my gratitude to the chef as I bowed to Fat, who, with a bright smile, proceeded to serve me another portion. Seeing Piandao's smile fade made me feel especially happy because he had been trying to make me laugh. After I finished eating quickly, I recommended we spar. Piandao was ready to warm up. Will you only use a sword? He said, astonished by what I said. Fine, just don't cry afterward. As I got to know this individual better, I wanted to hit him every time he spoke. How has Fat put up with him for so long? I hope your skills are as sharp as your tongue. I can say that too. Fat, who handed me a sword, shook his head and said, just like little kids. Are you ready? He inquired. Okay, let's get started. He said. Piandao began with an attack from above. Clash of swords. The overhead strike was a fake. He quickly rotated his wrist and aimed for my right side. My body was the only thing that kept me from getting hurt. The sound of metal clashing every second made his attacks come faster and faster. A lot of the time, I could only barely avoid or block his sneaky moves at the last second. I was able to make the fight a draw by using the Avatar Kyoshi technique to channel my Kai, which made me faster and more agile. I couldn't hit back the right way, but his attacks also missed their target. I thought, this is it. What I've been waiting for. As Piandao got a little faster and stronger. That was close, I said in slow motion as I saw the hairs that Piandao had cut off with his unexpected strike fall slowly. I get it now. If the Avatar Kyoshi technique greatly improves all physical aspects, then his technique is much weaker in this sense, although it does let you focus on one movement. Like just now, when he suddenly pushed his body forward. My hand was pushed to the side by the following clash of our swords. This time, he put all of his Kai into one blow. I wonder if he learned this from someone else or thought it out on his own. I remembered how his Kai flowed for another 5 minutes. I'll be able to create a book about Kai little by little. It feels like you're doing something different, Piandao said. That's right, I said. Do you know what Kai is? He thought for a time. Yes, I've heard of it. It's the energy that flows through all living things, right? I think the Yu Yang archers use it. Yes, basically, I said, nodding in accord. I saw you using it, whether you meant or not. I've known this for a long time, he said with a sigh. But I can't seem to find the key to this lock. My body gets stronger when I take a fight seriously, but it's too bad that I don't know how to control this energy. It's all from training hard and fighting on the edge of death. Do you have blank sheets? I think the Kyoshi warrior's training will help him become more aware of this magical energy. I wanted to illustrate the movements, but Piandao said my drawings were bad and that even tiny toddlers could do better. That's so rude. Is this your revenge for the slug? The master inquired as I completed showing the Kyoshi warrior's fitness program. Are you sure this isn't just a dance for women? He asked again, showing me his sketches, which showed me sexually twisting my body with a very focused face. I promise these moves will work, I said firmly. He said, well, if you say so, and then he erased all the heads from the sketches and drew a bunch of nice-looking women's faces in their place right away. I don't want to see these movements with your face, he said. It was time to get back to the ship as all goals had been met. Fat gave me a bundle and said, I packed the leftover slug for you, just in case you get hungry. I started to go down toward the town after saying goodbye. I'll tell my friends about you, they're looking for a handsome boy to dance with. Such talent shouldn't go to waste. Piandao yelled after me as he hastily closed the gates, but I could still hear him laughing. Go to hell, I couldn't help it, poor Fat, Juan. Somewhere in the seas around Mose, between the Earth Kingdom and the Fire Nation. The merchant's ship had already left, taking the bodies of the dead and some of Elder Yang's Kai blockers with it. We were left with a captured frigate, which is a smaller ship but faster and easier to steer. I didn't know much about ships in my prior life, but the part about the Fire Nation that I read gave me a lot of information. I think our friend's ship was a cruiser. During the Industrial Revolution, many various types and sizes of ships came forth because they needed to be stronger. The biggest ones are called battleships. They are twice the size of cruisers and can hold up to 1,000 men. Usually, high-ranking military or government personnel, like admirals, generals, the royal family, and some other officials, use them. Next are cruisers, which are the Fire Nation's principal fighting ships. With a lot of personnel and heavy weapons, even one ship is a powerful force at sea. They usually have 3 to 5 trebuchets and a ballista. There is a huge tower at the back that holds the captain's bridge. The southern raiders use frigates for special operations. Because they have a low draft, they can get close to the coastline without any problems and assault coastal villages very quickly, as we saw with the Southern Water Tribe. Boats are small, steam-powered ships that every cruiser and battleship must have. One person may run them. In the Earth Kingdom, people build wooden boats on land they have taken. They are covered in wood instead of steel plates because there aren't any metallurgical facilities. People and goods are moved by transport ferries. There are also a lot of barge ships that don't have any weapons. I went back to our last talk as soon as I got on the ship and said, so, what's the problem? He said, sometimes I wish my family wasn't so big. One of my nephews lives on Island 45. Some small islands here don't have names, just numbers. He says that some villagers started to disappear during the full moon, and this has been going on for about 6 months. I told him to tell the village elder, who would then send a request to the capital. To be honest, it's not the job of a patriarch from a respected and ancient lineage to run around with such small things. A month ago, on the full moon, some officials came, looked around, and left without finding anything. Now, I think I'll look into it myself. Maybe the spirits are playing around, he said at the end. People going missing on a full moon, I think I know who's behind it. Please let me take care of this, I said. Something like this happened in a village in the Earth Kingdom. If I'm not mistaken, the kidnapped villagers are still alive. I hope she hasn't shown her face yet. Maybe we can get her to the Northern Water Tribe without any problems. Even though I've lived for years and years and years in the virtual world, I still love the Water Tribe folks. It's where I took my first steps and where my new parents in this world showed up. I loved them right away. I hope that as time goes on, I'll learn to accept other countries as well. I'm no longer an idealistic teenager, and the people of the Fire Nation aren't my adversaries by definition. Every country has its bad apples. Go ahead and call for help if you need it. I'll rest for a bit. Age is catching up, he said, yet he was still just as energetic in the fight. He told me to be careful since it's a blue moon tonight. So there are 2 full moons this month, huh? The residents had already gone home by the time we got to the island, so no one saw us. The village sat in the middle of the island, surrounded by old trees and low mountains. Strange, I said about the desolate village, where people were looking at me through windows. I remarked out loud, the 2-story building on the edge of the village is where Hama should live. It's like an inn, and the owner, mysteriously, disappeared. Maybe I can get her to sail to the North Pole. Why not? It's okay to dream. The home came into focus. I knocked on the door after I had thought about it. Coming, a voice from inside said, as the floors creaked. When the door opened, a gray-haired grandmother stood there, appearing a little confused. Why aren't you home, dear? It's dangerous here during the full moon. Some spirit roams around, stealing people, she inquired with worry. Good evening, grandmother, I said with a bow. I came by ship, I said, pointing to the dock. I'm not from around here. Sleeping on the waves is too much for me. I heard there's an inn here. Can I stay the night? Ho ho ho, of course. Come in, she said, or at least pretended to. Not many people come here. There used to be a mine, but the ore ran out 30 years ago. That's when people started to leave, she said as we moved carefully through the house. As we walked into the kitchen, she said, I just made dinner. Wash your hands and let's eat. Go straight down the hall and to the left to find the bathroom. I had a wave of nostalgia for my grandma, who often told me to go wash your hands twice and use the household soap. I always heard the last sentence as I ran to the restroom. This time, there weren't any local foods, so I could have a bowl of fish soup with seaweed. After I finished the big serving, I said, delicious. Have some more, she said as she filled my bowl again. There's a whole pot left. Go ahead and eat. You're spoiling me, elderly lady, or is this a clever plan? Make me fatter, then pull my frail body to those caves. Okay, no more jokes. I need to know what's behind her mask and if it's okay to take her to other people. I still don't like Fire Nation food, I said as I drank herbal tea. Where are you from? Hama said, a little curious. I freely told them, from the Fire Nation colonies in the Earth Kingdom. Now, it's hard to tell who's from the Fire Nation and who's native. These areas are becoming the new centers of the world. Earthbenders and Firebenders have done a lot more together than they could have done alone. So, they don't hurt civilians at all. She asked me to talk about it. Of course it happens. But these are rare events that the local community strongly condemns. After all, generations have lived on the same land. It's mostly people from the islands who still think anyone not from the Fire Nation is an enemy. That's interesting, she said. What else can you tell me? I've only been to small villages like this. I've never seen the world. She ended with a hint of regret. I kept talking about the mainland's scenery, people, and traditions in vivid ways, anything that came to mind. I even told them a secret. I once talked to someone from the Water Tribe. I've always wanted to hear about the Water Tribes, she stated more firmly. Tell me what you know about them. I responded quietly, the Southern Water Tribe is no more, and watched her intently. Hama's pupils got bigger, and her hands were tightly clasped under the table. She kept her cool, and it was evident that revenge was what drove her. After a few seconds, she murmured, "What happened to them?" and took a sip of water. "History is quiet," I said with a shrug. But I looked around like I was looking for something, then leaned in and said, "I have some information, but I hope it doesn't leave this table." "No one will know. I can keep secrets," she said with a serious look on her face. "Good," I said in my normal way. "I know someone who's in a high position." I leaned my head back and pointed to the ceiling. "He says all the southern raiders were killed." I ran my finger across my neck and saw a look of malicious glee in Hama's eyes. Not a single one left. But strangely, many personal belongings were missing from the locals' homes. "It's as if they left on their own," I finished ominously. "I won't say who from the Water Tribe told me this, but they said that the Northern Water Tribe took in their southern brothers and sisters." "Good," Hama replied with satisfaction, as if she had forgotten who she was talking to. "I agree. I hate it when innocent people get hurt," I shouted with righteous indignation, almost getting up. "Do you think innocent people should have to suffer?" "Oh no, I fear I pushed too hard." Hama immediately raised her palm, and freezing shards flew at me. I jumped through the open window like a fish since I didn't want to leave the inn's real owner in a wrecked house, if they're still alive. "How did you find me? I won't go back to jail. The Fire Nation will pay for everything." She yelled like a wounded animal and attacked me with waterbending moves that were completely different from anything I'd seen in the north. Was this the famous southern style? Her style was different. She is the only person in the world who can do it. "I come in peace. Just let the prisoners go, and I'll help you get home." The conversation was getting out of hand. Where did I go wrong? "I know Kana. Remember her? She came to you from the North Pole." I played my trump card. "How much more do you know about me? You even dug into my past." She was getting on my nerves. I decided to wait until she was too fatigued to attack me anymore. At that point, her feelings would have calmed down, and we could chat again. Hama has been angrily destroying a beautiful meadow for the last 5 minutes, accidentally flattening some pretty flowers. The full moon was just starting to shine its faint light on the earth. Hama yelled, "You'll spend the rest of your life in a dungeon." With crazy eyes. Why won't you listen to me? She couldn't make me do what she wanted, no matter how hard she tried. It might not be a smart idea to take her to normal people, but since I've already started, I'll see it through. "Can't you change my blood?" I asked Hama, who stopped at the query. I said, "It only happens in 3 cases. First, when a spirit fights back. Second, when the other person has a lot more life energy, which is closely linked to blood. Third, when other waterbenders are around." "Where from?" she murmured, confused, and fell to her knees. "How did you learn all this?" "I was born in the Northern Water Tribe. I can't believe it now, but I guess we'll have time to talk about it." "What do you want? Do you want to keep hurting innocent people?" I questioned, looking into her eyes. "Or will you go back home, where your friend still remembers you, where your kids and grandkids are, and where your friends from the Southern Water Tribe would want you to be? Show me that you're from the Water Tribe." She held my arm strongly. What a headache. I'm glad Naruto finished his crucial work so I could summon him here. The next second, Naruto was right next to me. Hama peered at him with greedy eyes, moving from one detail to the next. "It's nice to be outside," I said as I stretched. "Naruto, I'll wear out my pants if I sit behind these papers." "Hello, I'm Naruto, chief of the Northern Water Tribe," he said to introduce himself. "What should I show you?" He thought for a moment and then said, "I've got it." Naruto pointed at a tree nearby, and it instantly withered. A water sphere erupted in my hand, and then I used bloodbending to raise Hama. "So, what do you want to do?" I asked her. "I want to go home," she said softly. "You two work it out. I'll go free the captives," I murmured, mostly to Hama, and started heading toward the mountain. From here, I could feel the signs of the people. We're lucky she's not as tough here. The little adventure ended well. I took the living but thin individuals back to the village. Some of the prisoners had seen Hama's face. We were able to blame everything on a naughty spirit that likes to take the guise of an elderly woman and kidnap people. Naruto waited for the new person to move into the North Pole while she packed up her things. Roku's Pav, Jailing, Baifeng Estate. Still awake. I sat down next to Toph on the open porch and breathed in the fresh smells of the forest. She looked up at the little stars in the sky and murmured, "I can't get enough of this world's flowers." "I never thought I'd have this chance," she whispered gently. "Thank you," she said, resting her head on my shoulder. I pushed her closer and said, "You deserve it." No one objected to my boldness. We sat quietly and comfortably, listening to the bugs that come out at night. I said, "You're already asleep," and picked Toph up to take her to her room. It was already very cold outside at night, so it wasn't safe for her to sleep there. While we were at the Baifeng estate, I took care of Toph's health and her parents' health. I needed strong, healthy friends. We were also making plans to slowly take over the Earth Kingdom. To start, we decided to put the symbol of the Baifeng house, a flying boar, on every product they made so that people would know who made their necessities. This would be especially helpful in Ba Sing Se, where we were sending free aid to its poor citizens. At a meeting of Toph's father's trusted advisors, it was decided to put Lao at the front. He was at the height of his fame, known throughout the Earth Kingdom, with a great reputation and good deeds praised in all provinces. My candidacy was not as well known. I was better known as a master earthbender and a fighter for justice. Still, I needed more exposure, so I went with Lao everywhere. I knew how much of a pain all this paperwork was from Naruto's example, and I hope no one noticed how relieved I was. The Earth Kingdom was almost 5 times the size of the Northern Water Tribe and had a lot more people. It would be easier to defeat the Fire Nation by myself than to make changes or start projects here. Poor Lao, I wonder if he knows what kind of burden he's taking on. But I've never met anyone more patriotic, he'd probably like it. Poppy told her friend that Lao's eyes had been glowing lately and that he was unstoppable in bed. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but my body reacted faster. If there's whispering, there are secrets, and secrets are information. Information is a weapon. Next month, we're going to travel almost all of the Earth Kingdom. This will help Lao's position and promote him even more. You could even call it a pre-election campaign. But it turns out that Toph's desire to explore the world was a bigger factor. We'll stop at settlements along the way, like fortresses, bases, villages, cities, ports, and just plain beautiful, interesting places. A whole caravan has been put together with tons of supplies. There is everything from different canned goods for Earth Kingdom warriors to medicines, with simple clothes and toys thrown in. It's not very sophisticated, but it works very well. Tomorrow, we start our journey. Even though I can earth bend, Lao brought a lot of his own people with him and left some behind at the estate to protect his wife. Poppy wanted to come with us, but she gets sick in carriages and said she couldn't handle such a long trip. Still, every day, another carriage of essential items for Toph was added to our caravan. General Zhao, Toph's father, already had soldiers at the estate. When he heard about our plot, he determined to protect his only daughter. General Zhao is one of the 5 high-ranking generals in the Earth Kingdom who make up the Council of 5. This group is in charge of all military operations. General Hao is also a member of the Council of 5 and is in charge of Ba Sing Se's defense. Lao says he's capable, but for some reason, he doesn't do anything about Long Feng and doesn't recognize his authority. The head of the Dai Li hasn't been able to control him because he always shows that he wants to protect his people. General Sang, an associate of Long Feng, is responsible for overseeing the defense of the capital's outer wall. Fourth is General Feng, who oversees a garrison located on the western coast. He advanced through the ranks and commands deep respect from the enlisted personnel. General Tazim, tasked with safeguarding the borders between the Fire Nation colonies and the Earth Kingdom, is a direct descendant of a close associate of the Baifeng family's founder and was also raised in an orphanage. The disparity in power distribution is notable. The capital is managed by 2 generals, whereas the other 59 provinces are under the supervision of 3. I remain unclear about their actions given that their walls have faced multiple sieges from the Fire Nation. The following morning, feeling well rested and satisfied, I was prepared to set off. A lengthy procession of carriages captured the interest of urban residents. The individuals from Lao were meticulously verifying the fastenings and cargo of the carriages, engaging in tasks to maintain an appearance of productivity in the presence of their superiors. Please remain close to your father. Avoid consuming wild berries or fruits. Adhere to your established sleep schedule. Poppy continued to provide her daughter with guidance, occasionally dabbing at her teary eyes with a handkerchief. I understand, Mom, you provided me with an entire notebook, Toph interjected, gesturing with a substantial notebook in exasperation. I am no longer a child. I will find a way to resolve this, she stated, crossing her arms over her developing figure. Oh, my girl has matured significantly. Toph appeared taken aback as her words elicited yet another wave of tears and sniffles. Ultimately, all things reach a conclusion in due course. We departed a bit later than originally scheduled, but no one felt it appropriate to disrupt the mother-daughter farewell. If even Lao remained silent, the others should be quieter than water and lower than grass. Toph's carriage provided an unparalleled level of comfort, reminiscent of a local presidential vehicle. The metal structure provided comprehensive protection against unexpected assaults, while the interior was designed to impress even the most discerning of royalty. It even included a restroom. What more could one desire for contentment? The primary function of this mobile home was to provide protection, which is why it was designed without windows. Lao, the attentive father, promptly addressed this by incorporating a small hatch in the roof, enabling Toph to observe the passing scenery. In the initial hours of the journey, we intermittently heard her expressions of astonishment and wonder. Father, please direct your attention this way. Roku, you must observe this. It was truly uplifting to witness Toph's authentic emotions. To optimize our time, I chose to instruct Toph in a new skill, one that she could practice during our time in the carriage, as that would be our primary setting. Observe closely, Toph. I threw a small iron sphere into the air. Earthbending encompasses a wide range of techniques. It is important to explore its full potential. In the Siwang Desert, earthbenders have mastered the art of sand manipulation. In various provinces, individuals have developed the ability to control mud, yet this is merely the beginning. For the next few moments, under the astonished eyes of Lao and Toph, I reshaped a piece of black metal into different forms. I previously believed that metal bending was merely a myth and that the accounts of its origin were overstated, Lao remarked, regaining his composure. Mr. Roku, you possess a diverse array of talents. Is it truly possible to learn this? Toph inquired. I am confident in that, I responded. In the future, a comprehensive police force will oversee the management of metal. At this moment, concentrate on sensing the earth particles contained within the metal. Here, I retrieved a small metal ingot from my bag. Begin with this, it is expected to be more manageable. Please, don't exert yourself too much, I chuckled, observing Toph hold the ingot firmly. Simply engage in meditation with it, maintain a relaxed demeanor, I stated in a calming manner. As Toph dedicated herself to advancing her skills in earthbending, Lao and I participated in a thoughtful discussion that brought us to the topic of a particularly contentious individual. Have you had the opportunity to meet the leader of the Dai Li in person? Indeed, I had a conversation with him on one occasion, he acknowledged. That individual, Lao paused, appearing to select his words with precision, holds a particular perspective that I find unsatisfactory. What specifically did not meet your expectations? I was eager to understand Lao's perspective on him. I certainly would not have departed from the capital without ensuring robust security measures, he remarked with a smirk. He frequently discusses the importance of protecting the Earth Kingdom's harmonious existence, yet he seems unable to look beyond Ba Sing Se. Long Feng possesses charisma, eloquence, and a talent for manipulation, but he is not the leader that the people require. For him, the pursuit of power takes precedence, even at the expense of societal well-being, Lao continued with fervor. I look forward to the prompt resolution of this issue. It is not an issue, but the appropriate moment has not arrived for him yet, I responded. Initially, it is essential to enhance the capabilities of the other provinces. Long Feng has remained in Ba Sing Se throughout his life and is likely to continue doing so. He appears to have significant concerns regarding his safety and well-being. The initial night concluded without any occurrences. The animals recuperated, while the people readied themselves for rest. Dinner consisted of a straightforward juke. Rice porridge simmered until the rice fully dissolved into the broth. Straightforward yet delightful. As we proceeded southward, we navigated around a significant expanse, departing from Jailing Province. It seems this was an inevitable occurrence. During our journey, we came across the initial village facing decline. Initially, I did not give it much consideration until a recognizable character from the cartoon appeared. It is my privilege to extend a warm welcome to you, Ha, the Earth Kingdom soldier who, along with his group, had previously instilled fear in the village before being defeated by Zuko, bowed deeply. From the outset, there was an unsettling feeling. The villagers exhibited an unsettling silence, with several casting hostile glares at Ha. Roku, that individual is not being truthful, Toph murmured, pulling on my sleeve. It is understandable that he may not be pleased to see us. Excuse me, everyone, please hold on. A middle-aged man in tattered clothing made his way through the crowd. Regaining his composure, he stated, I am Hansu, and I request that you communicate my message to the senior officers. Ha and his men are coercively seizing the remaining supplies from the villagers, and additionally, he seems unaware of the implications of his words. Let us proceed to my residence, Ha promptly interjected, gesturing to his associates to signal Hansu. I would like to listen to Hansu, Lao stated with composure, prompting his warriors to promptly encircle Ha and his team. The individuals accompanying me are soldiers under General Zhao's command. Hoppy's father and Toph's father-in-law had dispatched his troops with the assurance, you can never have too much protection. They are authorized to manage such situations, Lao concluded. Upon his utterance, Ha elevated the ground surrounding him, effectively repelling Lao's men. However, in an instant, a substantial boulder struck him against the closest house wall. Excellent work, Toph, I applauded. The ability to perceive seismic activity is remarkable, ideally suited for an earthbender. What was the reason for the lack of reaction from the more experienced earthbenders, in contrast to Toph's response? Their eyes were only aware of the movement, yet Toph detected Ha's vibrations from his earlier earthbending, enabling her to swiftly catch him off guard. Ultimately, Hansu proved to be correct. The villagers, feeling empowered, started to detail the misdeeds of Ha's group. The act of taking food constituted merely a minor aspect of their offenses. Taking advantage of the lack of able-bodied men who had gone to serve, they believed they had the right to forcibly take beautiful girls and women. Subsequently, a warehouse was discovered that contained the stolen possessions of the villagers. The recovered items were returned, and we provided some of our supplies, including rice, fruits, clothing, and various other small items. By the conclusion of the narratives, it was evident that Toph desired the ability to travel back in time and propel a larger boulder to guarantee Ha's demise. A portion of General Zhao's soldiers remained in place to await directives from their superiors. Given the more lenient legal framework regarding earthbenders, it is likely that they will face labor rather than execution. However, in my realm, individuals of that nature are not welcome. Within a month, they will experience a range of discomforts that will progressively worsen until the end of life. I transferred my energy into them, gradually depleting their life force. It is probable that they may take drastic actions in the near future. Toph, do you find yourself feeling let down by others? Lao inquired, maintaining his focus on her despite the villagers sharing some less than favorable accounts. It illustrates the challenging aspects of life. Indeed, circumstances vary significantly, and individuals tend to develop a greater sense of maturity at an earlier age. I maintain a steadfast belief in the potential of individuals, she responded with assurance. However, today I encountered my first non-human entities, beings that merely bear a superficial resemblance to humans, she continued in a composed manner. Well articulated. Naruto's perspective. Roku, Southern Earth Kingdom, village of Shin. Following my visit to this village with Shizuka, life has become significantly more tranquil. The villagers appointed a new leader and subsequently ceased the observance of Avatar Day. The village was sufficiently equipped, prompting us to continue our journey shortly thereafter. The map indicated that our subsequent destination was a medium-sized horseshoe-shaped port. Exercise caution in the port, Lao advised his daughter. It is populated by individuals who exhibit a disregard for authority. One may also come across vessels from the Fire Nation. Where do they originate? Toph inquired, tilting her head in curiosity. We have limited access to our own fleet, he remarked with a wry smile. The resources at our disposal are insignificant when compared to their steel ships. Consequently, many choose to overlook these matters. Should the locals begin to resist, it is unlikely they would succeed. The port matched Lao's description precisely. Pirates, thieves, and bandits were present, yet there were also ordinary individuals who, upon our arrival, willingly presented their goods. Purchase Fire Nation armor, including older models, with bulk discounts available. One vendor announced, Sir, experience the exquisite taste of fresh koi fish, sourced directly from Kyoshi Island. A man with a cunning demeanor promoted. Upon observing his stall, I noted that the prices were 3 times greater than those typically set by fishermen from Kyoshi Island. Upon my visit to the island, I will advise them to increase their prices. Ultimately, this is a distinctive product, and there will always be a market for it. There is an abundance of water, Toph observed, standing still at the dock. Are you interested in sailing on a ship? Lao inquired, observing her enthusiasm. Certainly, she concurred without delay. Lao promptly located a medium-sized vessel, distinctly resembling a pirate ship, prepared to transport us for a substantial fee. Is everything all right? Lao inquired with concern, noticing Toph's grip on him and me. I feel somewhat uneasy, she remarked, gazing at the wooden deck. I have yet to acclimate to perceiving the world solely from my perspective. Lao and I shared a moment of mutual embarrassment through our smiles. We were capable of resolving that independently. Before long, she was able to navigate independently, and throughout the remainder of the journey, she observed the vast expanse of the sea with awe. As time progressed, the cargo of our caravan gradually diminished. In certain locations, Lao Baifeng received a reception akin to that of royalty. Individuals confided in him regarding their challenges and extended invitations for him to join as a guest. Toph garnered attention as well. Initially, not used to the numerous gazes, she positioned herself behind us, appearing charming like a doll. However, she soon engaged with the locals, displaying a proud smile in response to their compliments about her father. Humorous occurrences took place during the journey. Observe this adorable creature. Toph approached us, presenting a delightful saber-toothed moose lion cub. What is happening? She inquired, observing the caravan guards become vigilant and grasp their weapons. He will not cause you any harm. He may not, but his mother certainly could, I remarked with a light chuckle. Although she had received information about animals, this was her initial experience observing them, so it was to be expected. And here comes Mom, I remarked, observing a formidable 3-meter hybrid of a saber-toothed tiger, lion, and moose advancing toward us. Intriguing reflections on the origins of this hybrid. An individual from the feline family once prioritized instincts over the need for sustenance. Upon observing the crowd, the creature halted, regarding us with caution. Toph, please place the cub down gently, her father advised. Please return the baby to its parent, he said gently. All right, head towards Mom. She placed the cub on the ground, but it darted off in the opposite direction. A powerful roar emanated from the mother, causing the cub to freeze momentarily, its rear wiggling in a humorous manner. This occasion, it proceeded in the correct direction. The situation concluded positively, and the mother gracefully withdrew. Toph, Lao said in a tone that suggested concern, where did you find it? He inquired softly. It is located just a 5-minute walk from here, she responded with composure. My apologies, she smiled sheepishly. I was making a light-hearted remark. It occurred to me. Toph faced consequences for straying away during our engagement. Although the consequence was minimal, Lao merely confiscated her Genomite candies, a treat she had cherished since her youth. Observing her expression, Lao recognized the precise moment to take action. While traversing the vicinity of the Great Divide, we encountered 2 indigenous tribes from the Earth Kingdom. Sir, a substantial caravan of unusual individuals is approaching, one of our scouts reported. Unusual individuals, Lao reflected. Understood, he instructed, please inform our team to accelerate. We will close the gap with them. An intriguing development is on the horizon, Toph expressed enthusiastically, weary of remaining in the wagon. Shortly, we drew near to the unfamiliar individuals, whose appearance and attire evoked a strong reaction from all present. Allow me to introduce ourselves. I possess greater strength, asserted a formidable woman clad in animal skins, gesturing emphatically. They will perceive you as foolish. It would be better to clean yourself up instead, replied a slender, neatly dressed elderly gentleman in white and beige attire. The Earth Kingdom is the sole nation that offers a diverse range of clothing colors, including white, red, brown, and others. The individuals involved perceive no issues with it. The color green was established by a former monarch as a means to distinguish allies in times of conflict. As the leaders engaged in their debate, their constituents observed with a sense of fatigue, as though it were a routine spectacle. A noteworthy response, the Ganjin and Zhang tribes. Initially, I believed they were merely a legend. Throughout my extensive travels, I had yet to encounter them. I was unaware that they were still in existence, Lao remarked with astonishment. It seems I was not the only individual who found it impressive. Who are they, father? And why is half of their group dressed in such a haphazard manner? Toph inquired with curiosity. These are the Ganjin and Jiang tribes. In ancient times, prior to the establishment of the Earth Kingdom, our territories were home to numerous tribes. Only these two have maintained their history and traditions to the present day, Lao elucidated. I was unaware of this information, as I had only progressed to the air nomad section in my studies. Interestingly, to the best of my knowledge, these tribes have been in conflict for as long as they have been in existence, he continued. More accurately, they have been in rivalry. There are no records indicating that they have harmed one another, only differing perspectives on life and a connection to the past, seemingly involving a significant object, he remarked with a shrug. History often evolves with fictional embellishments as time progresses. Perhaps they engaged in a dispute over a chicken egg, he chuckled at his own jest. Regardless, there is a great deal to learn from them, and I aspire to establish a friendship, he stated, adjusting his attire. He observed our eager expressions and remarked, I believe you will find it interesting as well. Establishing the campsite required only 1 hour. Lao subsequently organized meals for all our new acquaintances. Once all preparations were complete, he formally extended an invitation to the tribal leaders and their advisors to join us in our tent. The representative from Ganjin conducted the majority of the discussion, while the members of the Jiang tribe provided occasional comments but primarily assumed the role of guards. They openly shared their intentions, indicating that they had been contemplating a relocation to the central regions of the Earth Kingdom for quite some time. The raids conducted by the Fire Nation were intensifying, and there was a deficiency in both personnel and earthbenders to mount an effective resistance. During the recent attack, it was imperative for us to come together. Without this unity, our survival would have been in jeopardy, stated the leader of the Tidy tribe, suggesting that their collaboration was a necessity dictated by the situation. The Tidy One signifies that we are putting our past conflicts aside for the sake of our survival, the Jiang leader stated with conviction. We are currently in search of a new residence. We have explored multiple cities, and in each location, the authorities require financial contributions, our fighters, and even our women. She struck the table with her hand, causing the dishes to topple over. I apologize for my previous behavior, she stated, feeling a sense of embarrassment. No concerns, Lao gestured with his hands. I believe I can assist you, he smiled with the satisfaction of a fisherman whose catch had successfully landed on the hook. Father behaves quite oddly during negotiations, Toph remarked to me. Lao convinced them to journey a bit further to his province, where they would be offered fertile and scenic lands in return for their commitment to assist in times of need. We journeyed together for a period before our paths separated. We ensured to visit various orphanages, not solely the Baifeng families. Lao was unable to oversee every circumstance, resulting in certain orphanages presenting us with deteriorating facilities and neglected children struggling to care for themselves. Unfortunately, not all caretakers exhibited the same virtuous qualities as the Baifengs. At the very least, they accepted the funds that Lao offered. One case involved caretakers leasing their charges to regular clients. They were essentially relinquishing custody of children, functioning as exploitative intermediaries. This was the first occasion on which I observed Lao in such a state of anger. All parties were implicated. The city's leader, known for his preference for young boys, the caretakers, who received substantial payments, Lao's informant, tasked with overseeing the orphanage, who ultimately betrayed his friend for financial gain and the welfare of the orphanage's innocent girls. This continued for months, even years. Lao sat beside me, appearing fatigued and older, occasionally taking a sip from a bottle. I take full responsibility for the situation. I failed to maintain vigilance and placed my trust in individuals who were not deserving of it, he said, lowering his head. How many individuals have you provided with a promising future? How many have you rescued from hunger? I raised his head, meeting his gaze. There are many individuals in this world who can be quite ruthless. I am certain your ancestors encountered significant challenges as well, yet they persevered. Together, we can make a difference in this world. Will you join me? I extended my hand. Indeed, he confidently grasped my hand. I have another matter to attend to. I will return later, kindly informed Toph. That evening, I rested in a chair, holding Toph's hand, as she was unable to sleep alone. Ultimately, we were unaware of what lay ahead, and she had encountered some distressing experiences. The actions taken by Lao's people resulted in prolonged suffering for all those involved before they were ultimately defeated. Hollow remnants, lacking rationale, that is all that persisted of them. I provided healing to all the former and current residents of the orphanage, though my efforts were limited to addressing their physical injuries. Unfortunately, some individuals may endure emotional scars that last a lifetime. As the city continued to resonate with activity, Lao assembled all the children and adults prepared to relocate to Jailing, resulting in a further reduction of our caravan. The head of the Baifeng family made a decisive choice this time, deploying half of his earthbenders alongside them. Toph and I conducted a thorough evaluation of new caretakers and the entire city government, posing the most challenging questions. This evolved into a standard practice. Within each orphanage, we meticulously evaluated all personnel. It is often said that difficulties tend to arise in multiples. Before we had the opportunity to address the orphanage situation, we came across a village that had been burned along our route. Based on the condition observed, it is likely that the attack took place within the last 2 to 3 days. Charred bodies remain dispersed, with some exhibiting missing limbs. It is imperative that we conduct an investigation, I asserted, recognizing the strong desire for justice shared by Lao and his associates. We would probably gain insights into the situation in this province from the nearest city, which was our intended destination. Naruto's perspective. Roku, Western Earth Kingdom. For a time, we remained at the remnants of the village, respectfully commemorating those who had departed. The atmosphere was filled with a sense of negativity. Conflict is a matter of survival. It's a choice between you or your adversary, with no alternatives available. Nonetheless, individuals in this world strive to adhere to specific guidelines, or at the very least, they make an effort to do so. One of the established guidelines is that civilians should not be harmed without just cause. Indeed, they face significant mistreatment, at times even severe, being dispatched to mines, having their assets confiscated, and enduring various restrictions. However, that is the nature of conflict. Territory and its inhabitants become the outcomes of warfare. It has been some time since I last traveled across the country, Lao remarked, shaking his head. Reviewing detailed reports is one aspect, but experiencing the situation firsthand offers a completely different perspective. It is not as unfavorable as you may perceive, I reassured him. We have traversed numerous provinces, and instances such as this are uncommon. I indicated the remnants of the village. I kindly asked for your forgiveness. One of General Zheng's men approached us. I believe I have a potential lead regarding the individual who may be responsible, he stated with some hesitation. I would appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts. Please share any information you may have, Lao urged, keen for any leads. The soldier instinctively straightened, then relaxed upon realizing he was not addressing his direct superior. Approximately 2 years ago, I was stationed in this province. The situation was stable. There was only one Fire Nation base in proximity, and our troop strength was insufficient for an offensive, so we focused on surveillance. We discovered their interest in the local timber. No hostilities were reported. However, in the final months of my deployment, a group emerged that devastated 2 villages within a week, resulting in the loss of nearly all residents. Daily, we endeavored to apprehend them, but our efforts were fruitless. They remained elusive, constantly on the move, and based on the tracks they left behind, it appeared they were utilizing Komodo rhinos for transportation. He stepped aside. He indicated the animal tracks that Lao and I had only recently observed. Oh, I've come across information about them, fascinating beings. They were created by Fire Nation breeders. They possess almost limitless stamina, tough skin, grow rapidly, and provide a great source of meat. I once sampled Komodo sausages, absolutely delicious. By the way, it's a traditional dish from the islands. It was only after I was moved to a different province that I discovered it was the notorious Rhino Gang, he went on. A top-tier special forces team that tracks down traitors and key individuals within our kingdom. So, what's the reason for targeting regular villages? Lao inquired, puzzled. I was wondering about that too. I've heard whispers that when they run out of targets, they set villages ablaze just for kicks, the soldier remarked, his teeth clenched tightly. We'll track them down and make them pay, Lao declared with conviction. Regardless, I appreciate the information, soldier, he acknowledged with a nod. What are your thoughts? Lao inquired as soon as we found ourselves alone. For a while, I tried to track them down. I replied, but those clever ones seemed to sense the trouble and slipped away before I could get to them. Seasoned fighters have a knack for sensing danger. Those who don't stick around for long, I smirked. Their team consists of just 8 members, yet each one is a master of their weapon and Kai blocking. Could you share more details as we head to the city? It's important for us to get there before sunset. I collected some details about them from the provincial leaders, who unearthed whatever they could find. I recalled fragments from the animated series one had seen. The information could be old if they've brought in new members recently. It has occurred a few times previously. The head of the Rhino Gang is Colonel Monk, a clever tactician and skilled firebender, who once served under General Iroh. Next up is Junho, a formidable figure who effortlessly handles a colossal hammer. Sagier embodies the essence of a rogue, quick and nimble, adept with a kusarigama and a straightforward knife. Fourth is Yuter, a skilled soldier from the Fire Nation who wields a long staff. One of the earliest members is Yan Lu, whose true appearance remains a mystery. He consistently dons a protective mask and armor. He's an expert in explosives, comparable to mid-level firebenders, and poses a significant threat. Next up is Ogode, who wields a weighted chain. The most seasoned and oldest member is Kachi, recognizable by his guando and beard. Vashir stands alone as the sole archer, having once been a member of the prestigious Yuyan archers. He demonstrated impressive talent but was let go due to a significant error and became part of Monk. We definitely made an impression when we arrived in the city. Mayor Kahala welcomed us with a warmth that felt like the embrace of a long-lost family member coming home after a long absence. What are your plans, Mr. Lau? Is there any way I can help you? Mr. Roku, what brings you to this place? He inquired, eager and a bit anxious. He probably knew about the earlier village and was concerned about his own standing. First, let's head to the shelter, and then I have something important to talk about. I trust you'll whip up a meal, Lau said, quickening his pace without pausing for an answer. That was awesome, Toph cheered, perched on my shoulders. And Dad can take charge. It's nothing out of the ordinary, it's all about understanding your role. On one side, you have the subordinate, and on the other, the superior. You need to establish boundaries, or they might take advantage of you. I paused, glancing up to catch Toph's playful smile. You can hop on my shoulders, I said, tickling her bare feet and igniting a fit of giggles. A well-kept 3-story shelter stood close to the city center. A modest fence divided the secluded space where kids of different ages enjoyed their play and shared laughter. A friendly-looking woman appeared at the door when she noticed us. Luna, you still look like a boy, Lau said with a teasing smile, leaving us all a bit confused. You were so much more humble when you were younger, she said gently, wrapping her arms around him. Who's that lady? Toph inquired, a touch of envy lacing her words, her thoughts swirling with curiosity. Little Toph, you've blossomed so beautifully. I recall when you were just a little one, and now look at you, absolutely stunning, Luna said as she walked over, making Lau's daughter blush. Intrigued kids moved in, their eyes fixed on us. It's a good thing you got your looks from Poppy, she teased Lau with a playful twinkle in her eye. Children, say hello to Mr. Lau, she instructed, her tone authoritative yet caring. Greetings, Mr. Lau, they said together, bowing in harmony. Toph, could you pass out the toys while we chat? That would be great, sweetheart. Lau inquired, getting a reluctant nod from Toph, who now had many eager eyes on her at the mention of toys. I received an invitation to participate in their discussion. From the second floor, I observed Toph handing out toys, overwhelmed by a wave of excitement. It's been quite some time since our last meeting, Luna remarked with a hint of disappointment as Lau took a sip of his tea, looking apologetic. It's wonderful to finally meet you, Mr. Roku. Your contributions to this country are truly commendable, she said with a respectful bow. You contribute just as much, if not more, I gestured dismissively, returning the bow. For some reason, I feel a connection with you, she said, pondering her words. Wow, what insight. She must have picked up on something from my Beifong history. Do you recall the girl I mentioned, the one I confused for a boy? Lau chimed in. Can you believe how beautiful she's become? He said with a playful wink. What a shame. My heart is already claimed, he said with a flourish, pressing a hand to his chest. Time goes by, yet you remain the same, she chuckled lightly, radiating a sense of refined allure. So, What brings you to this place? It appears that she is the girl to whom he gifted a bag of rice, and this is the village that was once struggling, now blossomed into a charming town. After 5 minutes, I understood they would be here for a bit. They don't gather frequently. I quietly excused myself and bowed, but it appeared that no one acknowledged my leaving. On the playground, children engaged enthusiastically, holding on to their new toys. One boy seemed strangely recognizable, as though I had encountered him at some point in the past. He passionately honed his earthbending techniques, gripping a wooden sword in each hand. "Mr. Roku, Mr. Roku," a voice called out, pulling at my pant leg. I glanced down and spotted a charming little one. "Is it the case that everyone is scared of you? Even the soldiers from the Fire Nation?" They inquired earnestly. "Absolutely. It's like everyone disappears when I head out hunting," I said with a grin. "What's your name, kid?" I playfully tousled their hair. "I'm a girl," she exclaimed, a hint of frustration in her voice. "I just like boys' clothes," she confessed with a hint of bashfulness. "My name's Smellerby." What an unexpected turn. "If you have strength, show Jet how to be like you," she indicated the boy with the swords. She explained that he seeks to get back at the wrongdoers. As I looked around the playground, I noticed several important figures from the Freedom Fighters gang. Their leader Jet, Smellerby, the small Duke, the quiet Longshot, and the sturdy Pipsqueak. "Are you interested in helping him?" I inquired of the girl who prefers boys' clothing, intrigued. "I would love to," she said, "but I believe it's more important to assist Aunt Luna. She's already facing so many challenges," she added hesitantly. "Absolutely," I said with a grin at the little one. "Seeking revenge won't keep you going. Okay, go join the others. I'll have a word with Jet." As I drew near, Jet halted for a moment, then flashed a confident smile, gesturing for me to come closer while brandishing a sword in my direction. There's no doubt about it, someone is exuding confidence. He rushed towards me, springing ahead, poised to attack. I deftly sidestepped, giving his exposed stomach a gentle tap to signify the hit. Every time he struck, it opened up an opportunity for me to hit back at his vulnerable spots. This isn't the Jet I recall, and I truly hope he never turns into that person, I reflected. Life had definitely thrown him some challenges in the series. "I appreciate the sparring session," Jet said, panting after 15 minutes of trying and missing. "I would be honored if you would consider me as your student," he said, bowing and kneeling down. "What makes you interested in this?" I neither agreed nor disagreed. "I will make the Rhino gang pay for what they did to my parents," he said, fists clenched tightly. "Check them out," he pointed towards the other kids. "So many have lost their families because of those Fire Nation people." "Brother Jet, please don't go," a little girl of around 4 chimed in as she listened to us. "Oh no," she clung to his arm, tears streaming down her face. In no time at all, 6 sobbing children were wrapped around him. "I'm not going anywhere, I'm not going anywhere," Jet started to explain himself. "Promise?" a boy without teeth inquired. "Ugh," he groaned tiredly. "I assure you, Pinky swear," the first little one insisted, still not fully convinced. "Okay." Jet willingly agreed to her request. "Jet," I said as soon as the kids had wandered off. "You've already made a promise. You need to stick to it," I said with a grin. "They're just kids. They don't get it," he dismissed with a wave. "I believe it's you who isn't quite getting it," I said, shaking my head. "You might not see it right now, but one day you'll understand. This is where you belong." "That's not the reason I'm here," I interrupted him before he could say anything. "We're after the Rhino gang as well." Jet listened intently to everything I said. "I'm confident I'll track them down," I said, meeting his gaze. "Once we find out where they are, I can bring you along. Your job will be to secure Luna's approval." "I appreciate it. Thank you so much," he said, bowing repeatedly. "Wishing you tranquility," I said as I waved farewell. "I'm curious about what Lau's team discovered during their search for information on the Rhino gang in the city. Roku, city of Kahal." On that very day, during a modest banquet organized by the city governor, we discovered that the Rhino gang had been causing chaos in this area for quite some time. Yet, despite their unpredictability and agility, no one has been able to catch them so far. "I believe I might know someone who could assist you," he remarked with consideration. "If she's still around, that is," he murmured. "In the neighboring provinces, there's a well-known mercenary called June. She possesses a unique Shirshu that aids her in locating individuals, no matter how far they are. If there's a scent, she will track them down. I know of her, I remarked. Many individuals are interested in bringing her on board for a permanent position. I even saw her briefly once, but I had other matters on my mind at that time. You can't win her over with riches, the mayor of Kahal remarked with a sly grin, fully aware of the amount June spent at the tavern on every visit. In one significant role, she can make nearly a year's worth of a mid-level official's salary, or perhaps even exceed that. Moreover, regardless of an individual's worth, the primary measure is their loyalty. He went on, however, June also follows directives from the Fire Nation. He shrugged. Her skill in managing such a unique creature ensures that both parties respect her, acknowledging her value. Additionally, her strong reputation means she always has plenty of opportunities, allowing her to select the jobs that interest her most. The Shirshu is truly a one-of-a-kind creature, and its numbers have always been quite limited. Training one is the next challenge. These animals are incredibly hard to teach, needing years of structured guidance. One can truly appreciate June's determination in tackling this challenging task. Now, she is enjoying the fruits of her hard work, standing out as the sole mercenary with a trained Shirshu. I've already dispatched some folks to track down her whereabouts, he said, pouring jasmine tea for us. Feel free to leave your daughter here, he said softly, observing Toph's heavy eyelids. It was indeed quite late. We had dedicated several hours at the shelter earlier, and now it was already the 12th hour. No, I'm going with you, Toph asserted, shaking off her drowsiness and showing her energy, which earned us some skeptical looks. I've never been to a tavern, could you please take me? She implored, her hands clasped together in earnestness. Sure, Lao responded without hesitation. You'll discover everything on your own, he said enigmatically. I wished Toph wouldn't feel too let down. Numerous individuals idealize taverns, imbuing them with a sense of adventure. In truth, a tavern serves as a gathering spot for various characters indulging in inexpensive drinks, often using their last few coins. Based on what we learned, June was at a place called Chasing Fortune, so we promptly assembled and made our way there. As we approached the building, the sounds of drunken shouts and other commotion became increasingly distinct. At the entrance, a Shirshu was secured to a post, its head turning inquisitively as it sniffed at those walking by. I need to find a restroom, or I might burst, exclaimed a man as he staggered out of the tavern. His wobbly steps revealed the extent of his inebriation. As he hurriedly unbuttoned his pants, he glanced around with a hazy look, searching for the perfect place to claim as his own. It happens, I remarked with a sense of understanding, just as the Shirshu's tongue darted out, immobilizing the man. In his current condition, it was probable that he was oblivious to the creature nearby and was about to make the unfortunate choice to relieve himself right beside it, a decision that would come back to haunt him. Wow. Cool, Toph exclaimed, her eyes sparkling as we stepped into the tavern. A few patrons were engaged in heated debates, while others peacefully dozed off at their tables. A massive gathering filled the center of the hall, resonating with uplifting cheers. You've got this, Lou. I have faith in you, just don't let me down. Miss June, I'm right here with you. Miss June, could you please demonstrate your earthbending skills? A robust man called out enthusiastically. The atmosphere shifted, and those nearby hesitated, slowly stepping back. My bad, that just came out, he said, rubbing the back of his head awkwardly. Toph was in a fresh environment, her eyes scanning the surroundings with authentic intrigue as she guided us to the heart of the excitement. At a sturdy wooden table, two individuals were seated, looking directly at one another. The first was a strong individual with sun-kissed skin and prominent muscles. He would undoubtedly excel in an earthbending competition. On the other chair was our target, June. Her flowing black hair, expertly done makeup, and dark attire created a gothic aesthetic that complemented her perfectly. Her innate allure and charm captivated onlookers, with a significant number of the men focusing their admiration on the breathtaking mercenary rather than the competition at hand. June observed intently as her opponent struggled to gain the upper hand against her seemingly delicate earthbending. You better step up your game, or all the coins will belong to me, she teased him. A small stack of coins rested on another table, drawing the greedy gazes of some drinkers nearby. But they wouldn't even think about stealing. Aware of June's reputation, she'd track down the thieves no matter what. Absolutely. Oh, poor Lou, some murmured, feeling sympathy for June's rival. The mercenary, a hint of a smile playing at the corners of her mouth, gathered the coins into her bag. Mercenary June, we called out to her. Yes, what do you want? She didn't even glance our way, focused on her tasks. There's an opportunity for you, with a reward of gold, I mentioned. I'm not interested. Come back when I've used all of this, she said, waving her hand dismissively. Looking over my shoulder, I noticed Lao and Toph give a slight shrug, as if to communicate, it's up to you, we have no idea. How about we spice things up a bit? I suggested, taking a seat in the spot of the one who's not winning. I flung a weighty bag of coins from my belt onto the table. Feeling good now, I grinned at June, who finally caught sight of me. Oh ho, look who it is, the champion of justice, Roku, she said with a playful smirk. What do you have in mind? She asked, intrigued. If you win this earthbending duel, I'll double what you won before, I said, rolling up my sleeves. If I win, you'll join our team. What do you say? I inquired, fully aware of the response. Ultimately, it combined her two greatest passions, earthbending and gold. I'll accept this solely for your effort. My pouch of coins disappeared from the table. If you win, we can talk about a new price for the job, she stated firmly. Sure thing, I replied with a relaxed smile, feeling unconcerned about the finances. Ultimately, my journeys across the Earth Kingdom have gathered a wealth comparable to that of the ancient noble families. Show this painted lady her place, Toph exclaimed with enthusiasm, making June's expression shift with annoyance. And the little one has a long tongue. Perhaps it could use a trim. June shot a look at Toph, who held her gaze steadily and extended her tongue. Who do you think will win? Roku. Naturally, it has to be that way, the crowd started to murmur, captivated by the fresh display. I'll count, Toph said eagerly. On 3. 1, 2, she took a moment to gather her thoughts. 2. I felt the adrenaline surge through me, fully aware of what Toph had just declared. Get this girl out of here. Kids shouldn't be in this space, June said, her annoyance evident. My eyelid even gave a little twitch. You should see your expressions, Toph chuckled. Just joking. Please forgive her, Lao said, pulling Toph close, a smile creeping onto his face. The true challenge started. June instantly recognized that she was facing a formidable challenger this time around. She shifted her stance for improved balance, concentrating intently on the game. Impressive, she's powerful, I reflected, maintaining my grip on her earthbending. Nearly half of my power. I had endured intense training with Wan Shi Tong and unlocked multiple chakras. It's odd, there's no Kai blocking happening here, I observed as I examined our hands. It has to be something inherent to her physiology. Let's gather at the city gates tomorrow, I said with assurance, carefully placing her earthbending on the table. I mentioned it before. At last, a man has triumphed. Voices burst forth while June gazed at our hands in astonishment. All right, you got me, she sighed. So, what's the job? She asked, regaining her composure, though her gaze remained uncertain. We're on the trail of the Rhino Gang. They're hiding out in this province, I shared about our mission. With your skilled Shirshu, tracking them down will be a breeze. Okay, she replied, taking her time to ponder. All right, so tomorrow it is. Just bring the same number of coins, and I'm on board. It's a deal. I reached out my hand. It's a deal, she replied, her grip on my hand strong and unwavering. At the arch of my eyebrow, she finally let go. Can you clarify what that was about? The deal's sealed. Time to move, I said to Lao and Toph with a nod. I anticipated this outcome. Toph playfully punched me. I simply smiled and gave her a gentle pat on the head. I'm treating you all to drinks today. We heard June's voice as we left the tavern. Close to the Shirshu, two motionless figures rested. The following morning, we awoke with the dawn and got ready for the adventure ahead. The warriors inspected their equipment, while a drowsy Toph let out a yawn that spread to those around her. Lao arrived with his personal guard, accompanied by several soldiers from General Zen's ranks. Today, the need for speed was paramount, and everyone participated. Lao, with regal finesse, expertly managed a hunting eel, while the others rode on ostrich horses. Just stay close and let me handle this, I instructed the eager Jet, who had somehow managed to sway Loon. As soon as everyone was prepared, we made our way to the gates. In that moment, we caught sight of the shadowy figure of a creature accompanied by its mounted companion. June stood there, arms crossed, waiting for us. Gold, she said, extending her hand, and a pouch of gold coins dropped into her palm. Without something to focus on, we can't identify the goal. We require certain elements. We don't have any, but we could check out the places where they struck, I proposed, having already pinpointed all the villages hit by the gang. Your mounts won't be able to match Nyla's speed, she said, giving the Shirshu a gentle pat. I want to make the most of our time. One person can accompany me to one site while the others explore the rest. Collect anything you come across. If there's nothing of interest, Nyla and I will check all the villages. That would certainly be more efficient. You, she said, pointing at me. Get on. Lead the way. Okay, I replied, looking over at Lao, who seemed on board with the idea. The saddle offered plenty of room, yet it wasn't meant for two riders. Once I climbed onto the Shirshu, my body was snug against June's. She didn't seem to mind, or perhaps she was just putting on a show. Come on, she exclaimed, snapping her whip with a flourish. Nyla responded immediately, accelerating significantly. I didn't behave like a gentleman, holding her waist in my arms. Once more, there was no response. She simply shifted on the saddle, her body pressing against mine, occasionally brushing against me. In just a few seconds, my body responded instinctively, my arousal heightened. I noticed that her clothing, while looking thick and heavy, was surprisingly thin, offering an added layer of stimulation. What is her goal? I pondered. I understand that I'm irresistible, but this doesn't align with her character. As Nyla jumped over a small stream, we momentarily dismounted. However, our landing felt peculiar, almost as if it had been orchestrated by someone. My member was caught between June's thighs, persistently pressing against her, as if yearning to break through the obstacles. Any other man would have felt discomfort, with her full weight pressing down on me. Our breaths became more labored. June remained silent, yet her actions conveyed everything that needed to be said. She started to move closer, picking up speed with every push. Ha! A soft sigh slipped from her lips, accompanied by equally enticing sounds. In just a moment, her body quivered as she experienced climax. I kept riding while feeling aroused. I can't help but think this is all Dri is doing, I reflected. Her captivating allure, which draws you in completely, has set my expectations even higher. What comes next? I looked over at June, who seemed unfazed by the moment. Roku's point of view. Shirshu has yet to find anything at the site of one of the Rhino Gang's torched villages. Hopefully, the others will have better luck. I nearly assumed we'd spend the entire ride in solitude. But then, June began an unusual conversation. Where do you get your strength? She inquired abruptly and without preparation. I've been training hard since childhood, and I still haven't stopped, I responded. I wasn't about to discuss chakras and life energy with someone I'd just known for a day. Even if we'd had anything like sex, that hadn't changed anything yet. Do you have a lover? She asked, bringing out the heavy artillery. Yes, I said quietly, my hands gently massaging her body. She sniffed, staring at my hands and saying nothing else. We remained silent, and it appeared she was offended that I answered honestly. The city gates soon appeared, but the Lao people were not yet present. She left me at the gates, saying she'd stop by the inn, most likely to change her clothing. By the time Lao arrived, June had returned, wearing new dark leggings that resembled tights. They're too good at covering their tracks, said one of General Zen's soldiers. This is all we found, and only by luck, he said, bringing up some blood-stained bandages with dried blood on them. Someone from the hamlet must have injured one of the gang members. It's enough, we have a trail, June replied, as Nyla began pacing, ready to begin. Jump, Roku, said the mercenary, nodding at me. I don't like this mercenary, Toph murmured sullenly as I was behind June. We went through the forest for almost an hour, pausing briefly at a river where June said the aroma had faded. Most likely, they showered there. Shirshu frequently stopped along the way, which substantially slowed the voyage. The Rhino Gang was good at avoiding, but it wouldn't help them. We were getting closer to our aim. Quiet, June said quietly, raising her hand. 8 cents, 200 meters ahead. I think we've found them. Lao ordered his men to form a circle around the camp to keep the Fire Nation soldiers from fleeing. I'll go ahead, I informed the others. I'll try to disable or kill their Komodo rhinos, I stated, noting Toph, Lao, and Jun's anxious expressions. Our people were prepared for battle. 2 earthbenders were nearby, guarding and protecting young Jet in case of danger, otherwise, he'd rush right into the enemy. As soon as you see my move, attack. Use the chaos. I moved softly through the jungle, using my kai to avoid making any strange sounds. I was coming closer to the small campsite. Looking out from behind a tree, I noticed gang members hurriedly packing their few possessions onto their rhinos. They must have felt danger and chose to flee fast. I took a deep breath and jumped into an open hole in the earth, employing the subterranean swimming technique to approach their camp. Seeing the Komodo rhinoceros through vibrations, I sharply generated sharp spikes from the earth, piercing them several times. Some of the animals perished immediately, while others were severely injured and unlikely to survive. Above, the sound of fighting had already started. Our forces were attacking the camp. Metal clashed, and arrows whizzed in the air. Soon, I found their most dangerous member, Colonel Monk. The gang leader was slowly withdrawing from the camp, fending off blows from our earthbenders. My hands attempted to pull him down, but they were nearly scorched. "We've got a mole here," I heard in his loud, mocking voice. The entire battlefield was cleared. Lao had joined the action, fighting catchy and demonstrating his ability with his weapon. So far, Toph's father was dominating, inflicting new wounds on his opponent's body. Vashira confronted a gang of 4, with 2 offering timely protection against the archer's deadly arrows and the others pelting him with stones. Another group of earthbenders confronted Yan Lu, who was unleashing his firebending without restraint. "He's weaker than I thought," Toph said, slightly disappointed as she smashed Ogode with stone slabs, likely shattering several bones. The rest had already been paralyzed by Shirshu's tongue. We were fortunate to know their skills and abilities, and we had devised a strategy, allocating duties to everyone. I burst from the ground, dressed myself in stone armor, and was immediately struck by a scorching whip. "So it's Roku himself," Monk said, recognizing me anyhow. I wondered why I had indigestion today. I knew it wasn't a good sign. He smirked, maintaining his cool. "Time to demonstrate my mastery of metal bending," I thought, ignoring his words. I wondered how much my reputation would improve if I exhibited something that many earthbenders believed was impossible. It was fun burning those villages, hearing the agonizing screams of the filthy Earth Kingdom villagers, the colonel exclaimed, attempting to incite our people. "Time for you to shut up," I replied, spotting several of our employees making mistakes. Jet would have charged into the brawl had he not been held back. Manipulating Earth energy, I gained control of a metal sphere in my pocket. As I levitated it in front of me, I noticed Monk's eyes flash with amazement, followed by caution. "I don't know what tricks you're playing, Roku, but they won't help you," he stated firmly, maintaining his defensive stance. "Master Roku is the coolest earthbender," Toph exclaimed as she stood by her father. Lao was already wiping his bleeding blade, and his men had apprehended the defeated Kachi. The sphere charged forward, shooting at the firebender. A concentrated stream of flames appeared in its route but did not deter it. Monk attempted to duck, but the sphere impacted his solar plexus. The big metal ball knocked the wind out of him and cracked a couple of ribs. "Ka!" Monk spat up blood while kneeling. "You'll still be under the Fire Nation," he managed to smile, exposing his bloodied teeth, before passing out. The remainder had already been defeated. There were no losses on our side, only moderate injuries. Yan Lu's fire blast had grazed someone, and one of their soldiers had sustained a tiny through-and-through wound from an upgraded arrow shot by Vashira that had pierced a stone wall. "Is your revenge complete?" I inquired as I approached the silent Jet. "Not yet," he replied, shaking his head. "It will only be complete when I see them dead." "That will happen later," I answered, watching General Zen's men capture the Rhino gang. "First, we must extract the information they possess. Thereafter, they will undoubtedly face execution," I patted him on the shoulder. Toph was already telling her father how easily she defeated that warrior. "Did you see what Master Roku used in the battle with Colonel Monk?" I overheard 2 troops discussing. "You mean the metal bending?" the other inquired. "Yes, it's just unbelievable, isn't it?" he said excitedly. Many people looked at me with caution, and I could sense their rising respect, adoration, and envy. I should employ metal bending more frequently. Rumors about me would spread swiftly throughout the provinces. I think we should celebrate our glorious victory. Lao exclaimed as everyone prepared to return to Kahal. I expect everyone at the mayor's residence at 10 o'clock. As I approached Shirshu, her owner moved towards me. You're not just hard as steel here, she said softly in my ear, brushing her fingers over my groin and momentarily gripping my manhood. Shivers ran down my spine. It was too unexpected. I hope I'm invited, too, Master Lao, June said as she leapt onto Shirshu. Without you, we wouldn't have even started, he said with a smile and a sneaky thumbs up. That evening, the dinner hall was alive with voices. Lao sat at a table alongside the mayor and Luna. Toph, overcome with impressions, quickly fell asleep. Our table had 5 individuals at first, but June swiftly rejected them and sat down next to me. Drink more, she said, pouring me wine for what seemed like the 10th time. Maybe it's time to pretend I'm a little drunk. That's clearly what she wants, thought I. My open chakra prevented me from consuming alcohol, so I had to fake it. I gradually began to resemble the somewhat tipsy warriors surrounding us, anticipating June's next move. Let's go to your room. It's too loud here, she whispered, touching my knee. June's perspective. Same place, same time. No turning back now, stay focused. June told herself, swallowing a glass of wine in one gulp. She took Roku's hand and swiftly brought him to the chamber. Especially since he's already proven he can handle my strength. She had always been stronger than others, and the distinction grew clearer over time. Initially, she was overjoyed since she was pretty, came from an affluent family of rare animal collectors, had a sharp mind, and could defend herself. One day, everything changed. Serious relationships always end in bed, albeit it can be the other way around. Her first experience should have been memorable. They adored one another and were already preparing to start a family. But in this world, there are no free presents. She still remembered her old lover's piercing scream, the guy she had crippled herself for. She literally ruined his chances of having children. I don't need your apologies. I never want to see you again. His eyes were no longer filled with love, only hatred. Better stay away from her. She's a rose with thorns. Heard about that incident? Yeah, poor guy. The small community soon filled with new whispers about her inner quirks. Walking across the city got terribly stifling. Her father, a former mercenary, encouraged her to travel the world to meet other people who were as unique as she was. Taking her father's Shirshu, June began to make a reputation for herself. Each new village and city offered her optimism that this was the location she'd meet the one who could survive the grip of her love. Over time, June recognized she was seeking something magical and non-existent, so she began working for the Fire Nation. She was no longer aware that she was becoming severely cynical, following an unachievable objective. In her later years, she drank more frequently, hoping to bury herself in booze. Her toys supplied her with release rather than feelings. Her beauty would soon disappear, and she would spend the rest of her life alone. Life loves to surprise us, sometimes unintentionally, but on that particular day, she almost blew it. You'll be mine, reverberated in her mind like a drumbeat as she lost for the first time to a handsome young guy who had become famous. The next day, her mind had cleared slightly, and she decided to conduct another, more practical test. It had been a long time since she had experienced such a violent orgasm. The shape of his manhood immediately got her wet, indicating her readiness. Later, she realized she had behaved inappropriately. But time could not be reversed, only forward motion remained. Please, spirits, ancestors, gods, and anyone who can hear me, let him be the one. She pleaded before closing the door to the chamber. Roku's room at the city ruler's palace. June navigated the huge room with ease, despite the dark lighting. A subtle flush decorated her refined face, and the alcohol she'd consumed added a restless eagerness to her movements that she did not attempt to conceal. June gently moved Roku, who was still pretending to be inebriated, onto the big bed. She rapidly began untying the laces of his pants, her hands quivering slightly. Some time passed as June was pleasing Naruto. Naruto then took control of the situation, and his seed quickly spread deep within her. Withdrawing, his member left her stretched core, gradually releasing his milky essence. It would take time for her to revert to her original state. Now I'm yours completely, she purred, her clarity returning as she nestled against him like a tamed kitten pining for her master. Looks like we have an addition, he he said, looking into her adoring eyes. Well, can't refuse, he consoled himself, the average man. Noticing his passionate gaze at her breasts, she perched on his chest with her wet core, allowing him complete access to her upper endowments. Bliss, Roku was amazed at his passion for feminine beauty, each one unique and unforgettable. He was like a child, exploring a new area and focusing on her hard nipples. June watched him adoringly, allowing him to do everything he wanted. Shall we continue? Roku inquired, feeling her center moisten once more. As you wish, dear, she said obediently. This time, he grabbed her from behind, driving hard into her tight core. The obscene slaps of their skin filled the room like music, and their heavy breaths and screams added new instruments to the orchestration. Her steadfast obedience reawakened a domineering part in him that he had not realized existed. Each received what they desired. June, having discovered her ideal, fully succumbed to his muscular hands. Roku's sentiments hadn't become as strong, but one part of him was undeniably attached to June. Some maids prowling the corridors that night envied and despised such unwavering fortitude. Outside Roku's room, their lovemaking resonated until daybreak. Naruto, Northern Water Tribe, Chief's Palace. You have received a small lemon warning. At the time, 2 of Naruto's 4 bodies were actively engaged in sexual activity, which was interfering with his paperwork. You had long been addicted to Dria's intimate spots, and she never turned down such opportunities, experimenting with tactics from a wicked aunt's book. Naruto's mind continuously asked the sacred question, can one envy oneself? This is so distracting, he grumbled, dropping his head to the desk with a bang. Kaya, who had just entered his office, advised, maybe you should take a break. That probably won't help, he sighed and raised his head. Though, the longer he looked at Kaya, the more enticing the concept became. You're looking at me like I'm some kind of treat, she saw his undressing glance. My love, Naruto almost sang, we've never done that, in this office, a major oversight on our part, he clicked his tongue and stood up from his chair. People could walk in, Kaya protested weakly, but the telltale flush on her cheeks spoke otherwise. I'll sense it beforehand, he smirked as he began to caress her body and remove her fur coat. Come here, he guided her to the desk, tilting her body. I've wanted to try this for a while, he exclaimed, lowering her pants and panties to the floor. And I'm not the only one, right? He dragged his finger along her moist folds, prompting Kaya to tremble slightly. Hurry, Naruto, someone might come, Kaya whispered, arching her back, secretly thrilled by the risk of being seen. Kaya's hands clutched the desk's edge as her bottom was brutally hammered against the desk of the previous Northern Water Tribe leaders. Guests are on their way, he sensed as they approached with their signatures. Sokka, Katara, and Yui, he stated. This will be interesting, he smiled. What did you say? Kaya said, moaning. I said, let's change things up, Kaya remarked, getting on all fours under the desk and exploring her other personal space, always ready for him. Kaya had to take the initiative now that he was sitting down. Her experience enabled her to expertly impale herself on his manhood. Anyone entering would no longer notice their beloved mother being passionately ravaged. Unless anyone walked behind him. It's us, Naruto, Katara exclaimed enthusiastically as she entered the office. We brought you food, brother, Yui said, holding out a little plate of food. These are documents for your signature, Sokka said as he laid a stack of papers on the desk. When Kaya heard the children's shouts, her behind clamped tightly on his member, nearly causing Naruto to climax. Kaya cursed the Joker quietly as she covered her mouth with her hands. Naruto understood what his beloved was thinking, but her body spoke more than words, especially with the arousal pouring twice as quickly. It smells strange in here, Katara said as she wrinkled her nose. You should air out the room more often, she suggested. As soon as I finish, I'll follow your advice. Naruto yelled louder than normal, attempting to drown out the occasional slap of their bodies. Bye, I'm leaving, Sokka waved goodbye. We're leaving too, Yui said, waving. Don't forget to eat, Katara said. Wonder where Mom is, she murmured. It's all your fault, Kaya exclaimed when they were alone. I wasn't like this before, she protested angrily. I'm climaxing, he exclaimed, flooding her insides with his seed, interrupting her comments while continuing his hip movements. Soon you'll forget all about it. There wouldn't be enough energy to think about anything else. Juan, Fire Lord's palace. I should stop, Juan reminded himself for the umpteenth time as he undressed Ursa and sat alongside him. Why is he so aroused today? Ursa couldn't help but notice his intense stare. He wouldn't firebend me, would he? She secretly desired it, but she looked at Azula and Zuko training rather than the youngsters. This will take hours, Juan muttered, adjusting his slacks to cover his erection. Roku. The following day, the mayor's residence in Kahal City. My habit of waking up at dawn became known, and I managed to sleep for less than an hour. After circulating my Kai throughout my body, I felt energized, leaving only a pleasant sensation of fulfillment from the night before. It's no substitute for a full night's sleep, but once a week, this surrogate works perfectly. June lay snuggled up beside me, completely naked. So much for the arrogant mercenary. In reality, she turned out to be gentle and eager for affection. Sure, there is something strange about her, but who among us is fully normal? I quietly rose from the bed and began putting on the scattered parts of my clothes. Wow, I mentally whistled at the mess in front of me. Last night's dances had progressed from the bed to the floor, and then to other equally intriguing locations. Not pretty, I mumbled, staring at the dried remains of the last struggle. I left the room, covering June with a blanket, looking for a place to do my daily earthbending. Honestly, these workouts have little effect, but I can't miss this daily habit. It's become a tradition. Right now, Toph is bearing the brunt of it, exercising for several hours every day in the gravity-adjusted room, progressively nearing the next chakra gate. Rumors spread quickly here. I grinned, catching a few stares from the house staff. Good morning. Could you please tell me where I may practice? Preferably outdoors. I approached a group of women in uniform, most likely employees. Proceed straight down the corridor and turn left. You'll instantly arrive at a tiny garden, one of them said, while the others muttered quietly. Did he not have enough nighttime practice? I had accidentally overheard their talk. Don't be too loud, another chided her. It's Mr. Roku, after all. I'd be disappointed otherwise, she firmly said. Thank you. I nodded and immediately moved on before unintentionally hearing anything else. By lunchtime, our caravan was ready to move. There were several small disagreements. What are you doing here? Toph questioned June suspiciously. What is it to you, kid? June lazily responded. Of course, I'm here to pursue my earthbender, she finally said. And this? Toph had previously surmised everything but requested vocal confirmation. Roku. June replied with a genuine smile. Got it, HMPH. Toph went away, puffing up and giving me a look. Toph was unhappy with me. It appears she didn't even grasp why. Fortunately, she recovered fast, and by the next day, the problem was forgotten. Nonetheless, it did not change her feelings toward June. We encountered some challenges with the Rhino gang, which caused us to lag behind Lau's timeline. During a quick discussion, it was agreed to take a shortcut through the Great Watershed. Ultimately, Lau had numerous pressing issues awaiting him in jailing. Ah, it's you once more. Guide Jakubovich welcomed us with an unusual look, his gaze fixed on me. Mr. Lau, I think it would be wise for you to keep your distance from this individual. He'll take you right into the heart of the Canyon Roach's territory. Roku, Lau Baifeng asked me with a curious look. A few years back, it was quite engaging to battle them, I pondered, reminiscing about that hunting season. Now I understand why their numbers fell so drastically, the somewhat bewildered guide remarked. How many did you bring down? He inquired with an even more peculiar look. 1,000, 2,000, I can't quite recall, I truly reflected. The teacher is the strongest, Toph exclaimed, while June nodded in agreement. Recently, those words have been coming up way too frequently. As we made our way across the canyon on that first night, we noticed some local wildlife coming near our campsite, yet they simply lingered without any interaction. Even so, I sensed their desire to strike, and it was entirely directed at me. They likely still recall me, or more accurately, my incursions into their nests. Each evening, June quietly slipped into my tent. She wasn't seeking declarations of affection or grand romantic gestures, her focus was solely on winning me over. It was a unique experience, and I wouldn't describe it as negative, just distinct. You get that I can't just walk away from my other relationships, right? I inquired one evening after yet another passionate encounter. I see your point, she responded with a steady demeanor. So, is that all? I inquired, feeling a bit bewildered. Sometimes we have to make sacrifices, she replied thoughtfully. I've never felt so fulfilled, and I'm not talking about something physical, June added, noticing me looking at her kai, brimming with my essence. I just want to be near you, not possess you. That discussion cleared up a lot for me. I feel a deep sense of gratitude for the incredible women fate has placed in my life. The canyon swiftly transformed into the steppe, flowing effortlessly into wooded landscapes. Before long, the summit of a volcano masquerading as a mountain appeared on the horizon. Yes, I'm back in Makapu village. It seems like I've been here ages, even though it's only been 2 or 3 years. The village remains just as it always was, the same calm, lofty ambiance still hangs in the air. Hurry up, Roku, I heard there's an amazing fortune teller around, Aunt Wu. Toph started to lead me forward. I'm not so sure about that, I replied, adjusting my straw hat. How about bringing June along instead? She's curious about what lies ahead. I gave the mercenary a playful wink. Okay, let's do this. June stepped in to help, redirecting Toph's focus. As soon as they left, I made my way to the volcano without wasting any time. I decided to take a look at the old trenches I had dug during my last visit since it was still active. A few had been completed, but it wasn't essential. My abilities in earthbending have evolved. This time, I've expanded their depth and breadth. Before long, a somewhat confused Toph and an exuberant June made their way back. Most people wouldn't grasp the real feelings of the former mercenary, as her face typically shows either a detached or patronizing look. Share all the details, Toph eagerly anticipated that request. The vibe was absolutely perfect, but the forecast was a bit odd, Toph remarked. Aunt Wu mentioned that I'd be gaining a lot of new sisters. I believe I have a grasp on the situation, but I'll refrain from making any hasty judgments. I was told I've already found my happiness, June said, her gaze soft and warm, making me feel a bit shy. Oh, come on, cut the sentimental vibe, Toph crossed her arms, rolling her eyes. You'll encounter this again in the future, June remarked. Me, Toph exclaimed, gesturing to herself with flair. That's not going to happen, she stated with conviction. Of course, June smirked. With each new stop, our caravan grew smaller. We had just a little cargo remaining, and only 5 or 6 stops to make. Before long, we would finish a rough loop, making our way back to Jailing Province. You need to experience this for yourself. An enormous iceberg situated amidst barren desert sands. It's truly remarkable. Lao excitedly shared details about where we were headed next. When was your last visit? I wanted to clear up a concerning detail. I was around 9 years old, he responded, yet it seems like it happened only yesterday. This will be just my 2nd time at the Misty Oasis. Lao's inspiration left me at a loss for words when it came to describing the current appearance of the Misty Oasis. There were moments when June had something to express, yet she held back. The most amusing part is that Toph, after hearing her father's words, was excited to explore such a unique location. Before long, the clay walls of the settlement appeared, crafted to mitigate the constant presence of sand. Right in the heart of the settlement, there was an iceberg. While it may have been somewhat bigger than what was depicted in the animated series, things have shifted around here, Lao said quietly, avoiding eye contact with Toph. Don't be too upset, father, Toph said with a reassuring tone, giving her father a gentle pat on the shoulder. We could arrange for a multitude of massive icebergs from the water tribe and craft countless misty oases. That's the perspective of the affluent. This place feels completely devoid of activities. The local bar was likely the sole source of entertainment, featuring delightful and refreshing mango drinks crafted in ice cups right before your eyes. Now I see why the iceberg has disappeared, Lao murmured softly, gazing at his cup with a touch of bitterness. Sir, one of Lao's guards emerged quietly. There are some unusual individuals hanging around our caravan. Should we ask them to leave? Are you saying he's entirely covered in rags and cloth? He replied. Indeed, the guard affirmed. Toph, you have to come see the sandbenders, Lao said eagerly, getting up to call his daughter. A group of several people stood nearby, appearing disinterested, having already been addressed by Lao. In the harsh conditions of the desert, tribes often resort to theft and robbery to meet their needs, yet they adhere to a unique code of honor that guides their actions. If you find yourself lost in the desert and come across sandbenders, you can rely on them to help you find your way out. Sometimes, You might find yourself without cash or possessions, but the important thing is that you remain safe and sound. Lao exclaimed as he rejoined us. For a certain fee, they'll demonstrate authentic sandbending techniques. Outside the city, 3 representatives of the desert dwellers, with their sharp circular arm movements, conjured a small tornado that rapidly expanded in size. Awesome, Toph observed the display with sparkling eyes. It's nothing out of the ordinary, I replied with a sense of ease. I can demonstrate what genuine mastery of sand conquest looks like, only I hold the authority for my students. In the end, was my struggle in the sands of the spirit world in vain? Roku, the deeper I dive into your world, the more I realize how much there is to discover. Lao said with enthusiasm, absolutely, we'd love to see it. With concentration, I swiftly channeled my Kai into the sand and started to replicate the movements. Before long, my tornado grew to be twice the size of theirs and moved with even greater speed. The sandbenders started examining my face closely, seemingly attempting to determine my tribal affiliation. Ultimately, sandbending is a unique ability of theirs, and they do not share it with those from outside their community. There you go, I remarked with a sense of satisfaction, enjoying the excitement radiating from Toph and June. Following that, nothing significant happened, and we made our way back to the Baifeng territory in a calm manner. Poppy, feeling the absence of her daughter these past days, swiftly took her away, and it seems we won't be seeing her for some time. Lao hurried to his office. Time is of the essence in business. From what I understand, during the journey, he took notes on a map highlighting locations for new trade routes, areas to decrease trade volume, spots to enhance control, and various other work-related details. It was only at the conclusion of the journey that I became aware of my exhaustion, leading me to collapse without a second thought about the rabbit business. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.